Well, I'd like to welcome everyone to Minnesota West PSEO informational session this evening. Thank you for taking some time out of your night to come talk to us. Welcome future Blue Jays and the parents that may be here with them as well. We're going to go ahead and get started with kind of just the overviews and everything. So first off is what is PSEO and REACH? Okay, so concurrent enrollment or REACH. You may hear that referred to as CIS as well, college in the schools. That is what a lot of colleges call those classes that they present in the high schools. We like to call ours REACH. We're just overachievers and like to name everything. So, what are REACH courses? They are college courses that are taught in your high school by one of your high school teachers who have credentials within that field. So they have at least a master's plus in that field. What they are doing is actually teaching the course of one of our instructors here at Minnesota West. That instructor is your teacher's mentor. The nice thing about those classes is that they're taught in your building with one of your teachers. That means you can ask questions right during class. You don't have to wait for that feedback to come back from someone. Okay. When it comes to your transcript, it looks the same. Okay, a college can't look at your transcript and say, oh, that actually wasn't a class they took in the college. It was one they took in their high school. It comes out the same, looks the same on the transcript. Okay. Then you have PSEO, which are the Post-Secondary Enrollment Options. Those are college courses taken online or at one of our 6 locations. Okay. Again, these are taken with the instructor. Okay, so it is no different than any other of our what we call traditional students that are taking those classes. In fact, one of the nice things about this is our instructors don't even know if a student is a traditional student or a PSEO student. Okay, they're not looking at that. They're treated the same. Okay, doesn't matter which option you take. Both options cover tuition, fees, and books. So there's no cost to the students or parents. Now, there are some exceptions to that. The one I like to throw out there is I have a lot of students that like to take their CNA, get their CNA certificate through Minnesota West. There is a test that you have to take with the state to get that certification, to get that license. I believe the test, last I checked, was $225. That is payable by the student. That is not covered. Okay, so anything you do like that, if we have sometimes PSEO students who want to take cosmetology, the kits and things like that that you have to purchase for that are paid for by the students, not by your school. Okay, so just so you know, there are some times when you may incur some cost, but generally and always tuition, fees, and books are going to be covered.
Thanks, Brian. So why take college courses when you're in high school? Taking them will help prepare you for the demands of college and the workplace after you graduate. Students can challenge themselves academically, saves time and money. So like Brian said, it gets paid for by your school. So less money spent and saves time because you're getting them done while you're in high school. So a lot of students will start working towards like a liberal arts or the generals for that. And then they go to a university and will spend less time getting that degree. And then allows exploration of different subjects and career possibilities. I throw out the example of my son took a human biology class and he loved it. And he thought he would go into healthcare. So he took human anatomy. And then he said, nope, I'm not doing healthcare. So he did all of that as PSEO and figured out kind of what direction to go. So it helps with that. And then can create a more flexible schedule. A lot of the students that I work with that do PSEO, they do some online courses, so they don't have to be at the school for the full school day. They do a lot of their PSEO stuff from home or in like study halls. And then you can meet students from different schools and different backgrounds within those classes. So,
All right, so who is eligible to take PSEO classes? All right. Remember how everyone says, your MCAs don't mean anything? They were wrong. If you're a sophomore, in order to take PSEO classes, you have had to get a minimum score of proficient on your eighth grade Minnesota Comprehensive Assessment, MCA test for reading. And then you have to meet the assessment prerequisites for each course that is required for all Minnesota West students. So as long as you met that on your MCAs in the reading proficiency, then you are allowed to take PSEO classes as a sophomore. Now, your first semester, and it doesn't matter if that is the fall semester, the spring semester, your first semester, a PSEO student is allowed to take, or 10th grade PSEO student is allowed to take one CTE course, career or technical course. Okay. So that can be something along the lines of business. It can be along the lines of accounting, anything like that. Cannot be a general ed course. Okay. We send out as advisors a list of courses that students can choose from. Okay? And it's a pretty extensive list. I would say 50 or 60 classes at least that they can choose from that first time. Once you have completed that successfully with a C or higher, okay, so again, C or higher, in this case, D's don't get that degree, you got to have a C, then you will be able to take any courses you want that second semester, okay? For students that are really wanting to earn that associate's degree as a high school student, which we have many, many that do. I myself will have probably 40 this year that will earn their associate's degree when they graduate high school. It's best to try to start as a sophomore if you're going to do that. It's really a little bit tougher to do if you're going to start as a junior, because the only option you have at that point is to only take PSEO classes or those REACH classes in your school. Okay. So again, if you're aiming for that, how much can you accomplish? I have someone that'll graduate next year from high school with their RN. Okay, so they will be an RN when they graduate high school. That's pretty impressive. Okay, so that is what is required for sophomores. Moving on to juniors, you have to meet one of the following: be in the upper third of your class, so the top 33% of your class, or have a 24 or higher ACT, 560 SAT reading score, or 250 on the AccuPlacer. AccuPlacer reminds me, if by chance a student did not take the MCAs in eighth grade, we can administer an AccuPlacer test, okay, instead to see if they qualify for that. But that is only if they did not take. If they took the MCAs and did not meet proficiency, they're just out of luck when it comes to being a sophomore in PSEO. Okay, so I just want to make that real clear. Sorry, then back to this 2.6 or higher GPA in high school. Or we do leave this open for review of academic record by Minnesota West advisor. I'm going to use that as an advisor only for students that are coming in wanting to take some tech stuff. So maybe they're at that 2.3 or 2.4 that wouldn't qualify them to take general ed courses. I will let them come in and take, say, a welding course and things like that. Okay. But again, that's going to be up to that individual advisors. Homeschool juniors, again, it's those ACT, SAT, or AccuPlacer scores or a review of academic record by Minnesota West advisor. Okay. And then seniors changes just a little bit. We change it to the rank to the upper half of their class, or a 21 on the ACT, 500 on SAT reading scores. The 250 for Gen Ed AccuPlacer stays the same. And then again, that 2.6 GPA or review by Minnesota West advisor. And then it sticks the same ACT, SAT, or review for those homeschool seniors.
All right. So what should you do next? If you are in a high school, you will want to notify your high school counselor by May 30th that you're interested in taking PSEO classes in the fall. If you miss that deadline, then you want to make sure by April 30th, you're letting them know that you're interested in taking PSEO courses for the spring semester. The next step is that you'd want to apply to the college as a PSEO student. So you'd complete one of our free applications. At the time of completing that application, it's going to have you create a star ID and a password. And just remember, you're going to want to note that down somewhere, keep it safe, because that is how you log into everything at Minnesota West, your star ID and password. And then finally, you're going to want to submit that official high school transcript to Minnesota West. So if you are attending a high school, you'll need your high school to send that transcript to us. If you're a homeschool student, you will just send that transcript to us as well. Next, if you are a REACH student, you're going to want to work with your high school counselor to help you get enrolled into those REACH courses. Again, you will have to apply for REACH as well to the college. And then finally, you're going to want to submit our PSEO student registration form or our notice of student registration form. So depending on if you are a school that contracts with us, or if you are a non-contracted school or a homeschool student, that kind of depends on the form that you need to complete. Both of these forms are located on our website. If you go to the admissions, there's a college attend. What is that? What is the heading of it? Attend college or college classes in high school or something like that. And then all of this information will be listed there as well. Or you can always reach out to any of our advisors and we can get you the correct form you need to complete.
All right. So next, we're going to talk about a few things that you should know about before committing and deciding you want to do PSEO classes. First, a couple things with courses. So ideally, you'd be deciding coming up soon if you want to take PSEO classes this fall, but you do have until the first 5 days of the semester to add classes. So again, not recommending this to wait that long, but you can, if you decide kind of last minute, you can still look at getting into it for fall. You can also drop classes without penalty during the first 10 business days of the semester. So it gives you a little extended period as opposed to our traditional college students. They only have 5 days. You would get 10 business days for the semester to drop a class. If you determine, this is a little overwhelming for me, there's too much going on to take all of these classes, we understand that and we can work with you to drop that class. And then withdrawing would happen after the drop deadline passes. So if halfway through the semester you realize this is not working out for you, it's too much going on, you can withdraw from a class until 80% of it has been completed. But if you withdraw from a class, it'll still show up on your college transcript as a W. This doesn't impact your GPA, but it could impact your high school graduation if you maybe were taking a class that you needed for graduation, especially if you're in your last semester before graduation. So you'd want to check with your high school counselor. And then also it would impact your satisfactory academic progress, which I'll talk about next. Jen. So satisfactory academic progress, or SAP, requires students to be maintaining good progress through their classes in college. The requirements to keep this up are cumulative GPA of at least 2.0. This is college cumulative GPA. And then course completion rate of at least 67%. Course completion, what that's looking at is at least 67% of your classes being completed successfully. So that's where what I was mentioning with a withdraw, if you get a W for a class, it's not negatively impacting your GPA, but it would count negatively towards that percentage. The big thing to remember about this right now, because this is kind of future talking, future planning, is if you decide to take a PSEO class, you start running into issues, please communicate with us. You can reach out to your advisor for PSEO. You can reach out to your high school counselor, reach out to your instructor. All of us are here to help you succeed. We want to see you succeed. So just reach out to any one of us if you're having concerns, and we can talk to you about next steps.
And I just want to add one thing. Some of our high schools treat a W from PSEO as an F on your high school transcript. Okay. They will give you an F for that class. That can affect things like graduation rates, eligibility for sports and after school activities, extracurriculars. So really make sure you talk to that advisor before you decide to go ahead and give yourself a W.
Yep, that's a great point, Brian. I'd say it's just a good rule of thumb to talk to your high school counselor and your advisor at Minnesota West if you're determining that you're maybe wanting to make a change to your schedule once the semester started. It's always an easy, good thing to check before you do something. And then attendance. This is really important. One thing that maybe students don't always realize right off the bat is that Minnesota West's schedule may not match your high school schedule. Classes may start before your classes start in the fall for high school, and you don't want to miss out on those classes because you're not realizing the calendar's different. So by signing up for a PSEO class, you will need to make sure you're following those dates for our calendar. Another important fact to remember is that you need to be logging in for online classes and participating in your classes during the first week of every semester that you're doing a class. Instructors can drop you from a class if you're not logging into our online portal or participating in that first week of class. And as Brian mentioned, high schools can say, oh, W is an F for high school. If you get an FN, which would be what you'd get from this drop, that could also be considered an F depending on your high school. So it's really important if you sign up for a class that you actually commit to going to that. And again, let somebody know if you're having an issue. We understand technology doesn't always work right away. You can run into issues. So if you are having difficulties signing into an online class, it's your first one, just reach out to your instructor, reach out to your advisor, let someone know so we can help you. And then they know what's going on with you and don't assume you're just not showing up. So along those lines, make sure once you start in PSEO classes, you will be getting a student email from Minnesota West. Yes, another email you have to check, but it's very important to be staying on top of that email as well. That's where your advisor is going to email you. Your instructors will email you there. You will miss important information if you're not checking that.
So, planning courses to take here at Minnesota West, we highly encourage you to meet with your high school counselors before you come meet with us. Um, your priority should be graduating high school. So we want you to meet with your high school counselor so that you know and they know which courses you need to take here at Minnesota West to make sure that you graduate on time. When you meet with your high school counselor, if you aren't interested in taking PSEO courses, then you can also talk to them about taking REACH courses. Like Brian said earlier, REACH or concurrent enrollment or courses you take at the high school, not here at Minnesota West. However, those credits that you get do count towards Minnesota West credits. Uh, as a Minnesota West advisor, we can help advise you on your future college and career goals. We can put a plan together for you on courses for you to take to make sure that you graduate on time. We can also show you how to use college tools that we use as advisors so that you can see which courses you need to take. We utilize tools such as UAchieve, the audit report that you can find as a student, and all that good stuff. And then we can also meet with you in person by phone, Zoom, or email if you have any questions or if you want to help, if you need help planning courses to take. To plan for courses to take, we have a tool called the Course Search. You can find this on our website. This course search allows you to look up courses that you may be interested in taking, and the course search goes by semester and by subject. So if you are interested in taking a composition course or a literature course to meet your English high school requirement, you can just go on here, search for English, and see which courses, which sections of composition is available, which literature courses are available, and stuff like that. As a PSEO student, you are limited to taking 16 credits per semester. This is for students who are not first semester sophomores. Like Brian said earlier, first semester sophomores can only take one CTE course. The 16 credit limit are for students who are current or returning PSEO students. The semesters available are fall, winter, and spring semesters. Maymester and summer semester courses are not covered through PSEO. We do have students or high school students take Maymester and summer semester courses, but you would have to pay for those courses on your own. For winter break courses, they are about 2 weeks long or maybe less than 2 weeks. Those courses are covered through PSEO, but they count towards the spring semester. So if you are looking at taking winter break courses, make sure you look at how many credits they are because they do count towards that 16 credit limit. To register for courses, we have something called e-services. You will be able to log into e-services with your Star ID and password. And e-services is kind of like our go-to for everything, course registration. If you are no longer a PSEO student and continue taking courses here at Minnesota West, that's where you look at your financial aid, your audit report, your unofficial transcript, bills and payment, and all of that good stuff. And then let's talk about Minnesota West student resources. We are very strict in following FERPA. It's a privacy act for students. We are not allowed to give out any information regarding students here at Minnesota West, even if you are a parent. So if you are a parent of a high school student who's taking courses here at Minnesota West and you'd like information on their coursework, their attendance, the student would need to add you to their authorization. This form called the Authorization to Release Student Information form can be found on our website. It's an e-form. The student would have to log into that form using their Star ID and password, fill it out, add the parents on that form, and just submit it. It's really easy. Tutoring. So Minnesota West has tutors available in person or virtually. Only for certain subjects, though. More so in person. If you are here on the Worthington campus, we have tutors available in the LARC, which is a library and resource center. If you need online support, you can log into our tutor.com, which is available 24/7 for all subjects, areas, topics that you may need help with. There, you can also access free tutoring through our online course platform called D2L. And D2L is where, if you take online courses, that's where all of your online courses will be at. There are tiles once you log into D2L using your Star ID and password, you'll see your courses right there. And you can just click on each one and make sure that you look at all the course requirements for those. Accessibility and disability services. I think Brian should talk about this since he's here.
All right, I'll give you that. Yeah, so again, I am the accessibility disability coordinator for the college. So what that means for you is if you are a high school student that maybe is has an IEP or a 504 plan at your high school, so you're receiving some accommodations, things like that at the high school, we can possibly honor some of those here at the college. I say possibly because there's a fundamental difference between disability services in a high school and in a college. both are legally required to accommodate. So that means things like extended testing times, private testing rooms, things like that. The difference is high schools are also required to modify curriculum, and we do not modify curriculum at the college. Okay, so the easiest way to explain that is if I have a student in the high school that's on an IEP and they're given a multiple choice test that has 4 possible answers to choose from, they may drop that down to 2 or 3 possible choices. We will not do that at the college. We will not change the curriculum or lower the rigor of a course based on a disability. Okay, so we help level the playing field, but we do not help give any advantage to. Okay. And the best way that I can explain that, a story that I tell is I had a student that was in our nursing program, was struggling, said, I want it to be like it was in high school. I said, well, what was that? I just had to do my best and I passed. My question to her was, if you're lying in a hospital bed, do you want your nurse to have just done her best or required to have those B's that we require? She agreed that she would rather have someone that was required to know all the information that they could. So again, but it is here. If you need that, certainly reach out to me. It's a quick process. Once I have you fill out a form and I get the IEP or 504 from your high school, it takes me just a few minutes to get the accommodations put in place and sent out to the instructors. Okay. And since I'm here, I'll just go ahead and keep rolling with this slide if that's okay with you, Shansuk. Mental health and wellness. Mental health is a huge thing that we kind of strive to help people with here at the college. So we actually have a licensed professional clinical counselor on staff. Her name is Kathy Gross. It's free. You can see her for free to assist in person, over the phone, or through Zoom. She is always willing to work with students to meet however they want to. We have some students that meet with her a few times and then are done. We have students that meet with her weekly. It just depends on what their needs are. Okay, so we do have that. And again, even though you're a high school student, we consider you to be a college student. So anything that happens here at the college, you have access to. And again, then we have Mantra Health, which is our virtual mental health support, which is an online support system that we have. You can make appointments with providers on there. Again, it's free to you. Those are online. And then we even have some peer support, self-care therapy, crisis, and more that's there. That peer support group is for people that are kind of going through things that want to kind of reach out to those that may be in the similar situation, same age group, things like that. Parents, it is important to note to you that even though that is a peer support program, it is monitored by professionals. Okay, so there are professionals on that are monitoring. They only step in if they need to. What's that look like? If someone is threatening self-harm, harm to others, they're going to step in and take the means, the necessary means to make sure that everyone is kept safe in that. But we do have those available to students.
All right. Thanks, Brian. So you've heard a lot of information. If you're like, wow, this sounds great, and maybe I want even more information about different programs available through Minnesota West, we do have a few events that are coming up that you could check out. These are all available to sign up for through our website. If you just go to the news and events page on our website, you can see anything that's coming up. These are 3 that are already posted that are coming up in the near future. Tech Day at Jackson campus on March 3rd. Gosh, that's next week. I just February went by fast. Then on Canby campus, the extravaganza, that is March 19th. And then there's healthcare mini camps, April 13th and 16th. So these are just a few examples. There are more that'll be posted, but these are ones that are up there already that you could check out. Yep. So then the last thing I really want to leave you with is just another maybe reason that you could consider taking PSEO classes. So not only are you getting to take college classes for free as a high school student, kind of planning ahead, getting what Jill was talking about, all of those great reasons to take these classes now. You're also potentially opening yourself up for a scholarship once you graduate from high school. So if you take PSEO or REACH classes, you graduate with some of those credits completed before high school graduation with a C or better, and then you intend to enroll, you decide to enroll at Minnesota West after high school graduation, as long as you're doing well in those courses, meeting again that 2.0 GPA, and you complete this application, you can get and be awarded this $2,000 scholarship. So not only getting classes done early, saving money with PSEO, but also saving yourself money in the future once you graduate high school. So just one more little nugget of wisdom for why you might want to consider PSEO classes. And then finally, we've got a survey for you. So if you don't mind taking a survey, this helps us make sure that we are giving you the information you're looking for at these sorts of presentations. We also have an opportunity in the survey for you to ask for follow-up from an advisor. So if there's something that we did not cover tonight that you have some questions about, or you want additional information about something, maybe signing up for the mini camp, you can indicate that on the survey. So you're helping us. We can help you too if you have any more questions. We also have some time left tonight. So if you have questions, I haven't looked in the chat, but we can see if you have some questions, and you can also unmute too if you wish to speak out loud for your questions, but you can put them in the chat too. It looks like we've got one question here. List of gen eds available. So Brian was talking about this a little bit earlier. So if a student is starting as a 10th grader in their first semester taking PSEO, it's a pretty decent list, like 50 classes, but there's CTE specific classes. So you're not open to taking any classes at Minnesota West. But after that first semester as a 10th grade PSEO student, or even if you start as a junior or a senior, you would be open to take really any courses at Minnesota West that you meet the prerequisites for. So you couldn't jump into anatomy or human physiology, for example. You'd have to take anatomy first. But really, you have a lot of different options to choose from. For gen ed specifically, really, we're looking at making sure that students meet college level reading and math skills. So that may be something that that a student would want to talk to their advisor about, which classes would be open to them. But really, you have a lot of different options you can choose from, and it's more about what courses are being offered each semester, which Chansuk mentioned. You can look in the course search. Even now, you don't have to have applied or been accepted yet as a PSEO student. You can look on the course search now.
Do you want to talk, Pam, or I can too a little bit? She's asking about transfer pathways. So following that Minnesota transfer curriculum or liberal arts AA
Sure.
degree.
You can jump in, yeah.
Okay, so there are some pathways that you can follow to transition to a four-year institution. So like Brian was saying, he has over 40 students that are completing the liberal arts AA degree. So really that's just getting all your general education courses completed in order to transfer smoothly to another institution, a four-year institution. So we work closely with students that are interested in that and following the plan, making sure we're setting them up to be able to complete graduating high school and also that liberal arts degree. We also have students who have specific pathways they want to follow. For example, I have a student that is going on to pharmacy. So we're really looking at all those pharmacy courses at, let's say, SDSU. We go look through the curriculum requirements, making sure that we're setting them up to be able to transfer there nicely. We also use tools like transferology.com that we can work with students to make sure things are transferring correctly to other institutions. Students also have access to that as well, so they can do that on their own if they choose. But I highly recommend always meeting with an advisor and just make sure you're on that path to be successful and taking courses that you need, not just taking a bunch of courses and then they don't transfer and you've just wasted all that time and energy on those courses, and it won't help you or benefit you in the future. So I'd also add, in that course search on our website, I could probably share my screen here. There is an option too, when you're searching for courses, to even break it down further in an expanded search to actually search the goal areas. That's what we call those, the goal areas for the general education pathway courses, to make sure you're picking classes that are available in that semester within that goal area. So, but again, we're happy to meet with students and go through that a little bit more in depth. This is just kind of supposed to be an overview on just getting started. So just reach out to an advisor. You can reach out to any advisor. Each high school is assigned an advisor, so you can work with your high school counselor to find out who that is as well.
Here's one more question. Is there communication between advisors with high school and college? So it sounds like maybe you're talking about advisors at Minnesota West communicating with high school counselors. Yes, the Minnesota West advisors, we are assigned to different high schools. So all the students who are doing PSEO courses from a certain high school would be assigned to the same Minnesota West advisor. So the Minnesota West advisor assigned to that school gets to know pretty well the high school counselor, because they're constantly communicating about which students are wanting to take PSEO courses, helping submit those forms that I think Jen talked about earlier. So high school counselor is a good place to start for questions that you may have. But then also they can get you in communication with the Minnesota West advisor who's assigned to that school that they'll be working with. Other communication, so this is delving a little further beyond just an overview, but if a student is struggling in a class, I just touched on this a little bit earlier, but an instructor can drop a class or drop a student from a class if they are not showing up. They can also submit alerts for students if they're maybe missing some classes or missing assignments, or it seems like they may need some additional help. They can put in referrals for tutors, but the advisors also get those early alerts. So we can reach out to those students. We also reach out to the high school counselors to let them know about those alerts so they can step in as another form of support for students. So yes, that was a long answer, but yes, we do communicate with high school counselors.
So every school's a little different, right? So some schools, they will get all the forms together, like the PSEO registration forms, and they may send all that to us to process. Some high schools will help the student complete it, and then they'll put it in the hands of the student to get it to us. But again, we're always in communication with the counselors on everything, any communication that goes out to the student, we're CCing counselors. We send negative grade reports out if a student drops or withdraws. So they're always in the know of what's happening with their students.
FERPA is pretty restrictive for what we can share with people outside of the student, but we do share information with high school counselors. So like we talked about, early alerts, if a student's struggling in a class and we hear that information, we'll share that with high school counselors. So that's kind of an exception there if the high school needs to know something for their student. Oh, ninth grader. Getting in early. So let's see, daughter is a ninth grader. she needs to complete one CTE course her first semester of 10th grade before. No, so the 10th grade course would be part of PSEO. So the very first semester a student could start in PSEO would be that fall semester of 10th grade if they meet those eligibility requirements from the MCA score. So that first semester taking the one CTE course, that would be a PSEO course. So that would get paid for through PSEO as well. Since they're in 10th grade, that's why there's a restriction on taking that one CTE course first, making sure they're successful before moving on to taking, any classes. So that's really the only difference, but it would still be PSEO. Great question. Glad to hear we have a 9th grader looking into it, planning ahead. Oh, thanks, Chansuk. So Chansuk just put in the chat a link directly to the list of 10th grade classes, the CTE classes that a first semester PSEO 10th grader would be able to choose from. So that's a great list to take a look at if you're in that category, looking at taking for 10th grade as your first time in PSEO. You can see if any courses jump out at you as something that interests you. That's kind of also why we talked about course search, so that you can even now be looking at what courses are offered by Minnesota West and see, maybe that really interests you, whatever course. So you could plan ahead and know that we offer that. Maybe scope it out for a future semester. And since you do have to submit the PSEO form to us before you'd be able to register for classes, at that point, your advisor, your Minnesota West advisor, would be able to give you more information on classes to look at, how to register, more on D2L, all those nice next steps once you're really deciding that you're wanting to pursue PSEO classes. We just didn't want to bog you down with all of that tonight. But there's a lot more information we can get into. So again, if you have more questions specifically about something, feel free to reach out to us. But we also will walk you through the steps as they become more relevant, depending on if you want to take PSEO classes.
I also want to add that a lot of high schools are now being really strict on those deadlines. May 30th for the fall semester and October 30th for the spring semester. So make sure your students get those forms in by those dates, especially if they plan on taking the classes in the fall. Make sure they turn in those forms in by May 30th. I know a lot of schools won't accept them after that date.
And that's the notification to the high school. So as long as you're talking to your high school, filling out that form by that date, it's okay if you're not registered by that date. We can still help you with that after that. But just getting that notification to your high school. Another question, nice. Does the school have any say on restrictions on REACH versus PSEO on what classes can be taken as long as they meet requirements?
Yeah, kind of. I just wanted to make sure that they couldn't say, well, it's offered at the school, so you have to take it at the school versus doing PSEO, or you can't take that class because of some sort of, they can't say no to any classes for PSEO as long as they're meeting the requirements for the high school, correct? Like if they take an extra class to get ahead, as long as they're still meeting high school requirements, do they have any say on what they can and can't take?
Well, that's a great question. Technically, you can take any PSEO courses you wish to take. Now, I have some districts that are very strict and just like won't allow it. Even though I don't know how to diplomatically answer this question. Even though you are allowed to take any PSEO courses as long as they signed off that you can do so and you've met the requirements. So I encourage, like we always encourage students, if there's a reach or concurrent enrollment at your high school, to take it there, just because you have that one-on-one. Sometimes online learning isn't for everybody. But if you feel like you're going to get it'd be better for the student to take, like, let's say, public speaking, they would rather take that online versus in person with their peers. You should be able to do that.
I'll
Pamela,
jump
you
in.
chime in.
Yeah, so I have had a situation with one of the high schools that I work with where I had recommended looking at Composition 1, I think was one of the options. And the student came back and told me that their counselor had said they should not take that yet. So some schools will have some policies like that, kind of internal policies, where they would rather have a student wait until they've had certain high school classes before taking PSEO, even if the student meets the requirements for that course. So I would say that's a great opportunity to have a conversation with the high school counselor as well as the Minnesota West advisor to make sure that everyone's kind of on the same page with that. Because each high school is a little different with how they handle things. So yeah, good opportunity for communication to just see what the policies are. We'll definitely tell students if they don't meet prerequisites for a class through Minnesota West policies. But again, the high schools can have their own tricks that you have to figure out a little bit. So yeah, that's a great question. We're gonna have to look into that some more. I think we maybe are gonna wrap it up then. You guys have had wonderful questions. Again, I've said this a few times, but if you think of other questions, we did put our contact information in the chat earlier. You're welcome to reach out to any of us, or if you are already in communication with your high school counselor, you can reach out to them and find out which advisor you'll be working with, reach out to that person specifically. I'm happy to address any additional questions you have. And if you fill out the survey and you want to add your question in there, we can always reach out to you that way too. So thank you guys so much for spending an hour of your evening with us. We really appreciate it. If you have friends who want to take PSEO classes and somehow did not know this was happening tonight, you tell them tomorrow and they're excited. We have more coming up in April. It'll be the same information. So if you've already attended tonight, you do not need to attend again. But if you talk to your friends and they want more information, April 8th, I think. Is that right? Anyone?
That sounds right.
I think that's right. It's on our website, again, under the news and events tab. So you can check on there and encourage your friends to join PSEO too. Get some more college credits done. So thank you again. Hope you all have a great night.